All right. So guys, I'm gonna let James introduce himself because James is he's a master salesperson. He's somebody that has been in the sales industry for a long time, but he's also a very savvy entrepreneur and successful business owner. So you guys know I only bring the best of people on here because it's very value driven. It's just straight content, kind of stuff that you pay thousands of dollars for in courses. And James just happens to be one of those rare and scarce individuals that is here right now. And you're listening to him, you're tuning into him, and he's there in front of your mind, and you can hear him, and he's alive. So James,
That I
being
am.
somebody that they have the privilege and opportunity to be able to interact with through this podcast, however they're going to stream it. I mean, what are some of the things? I know that you've closed like over 200 accounts. I know you can train people and you can make them into 6, 7 figure producers. You're a master leader. You're always investing in your education, into your personal development. You're thinking about everybody else. You're a true leader, right? And it's like, wow. It's like you're somebody that can get stuff done. Now he's got his own company because of how much of a visionary he is, and he's working with
Yeah.
like all these tremendous things. You get me? And he can pretty much pivot and adapt any way that he wants, and he'll manifest it within the snap of a coin, right? Heads or tails, you choose. I think James will choose because he could do that. So I
I mean,
mean,
what an introduction.
yes,
Holy,
well
holy
deserved.
cow. I don't know how to say or even follow up after that. Um I think you put me on a pretty tall pedestal there. So just to bring it down, I'm from originally from Tampa, Florida. One of 8 kids. I was adopted by a Puerto Rican man. He's in his 80s now, and I'm just turned 29 this past December. So it's been a crazy journey, but in nowhere am I like coming from like a special family, or like I was born into money, or I had like a different opportunity than everyone else, or my family knew people. Um, you know, I kind of have like the same story, I think, is like really any regular person I dealt with. um, Not fitting in. I was just a normal person, always reacting to everything in life. And um, yeah, um, but it's been quite a journey getting to where I'm at now. And I'm excited to where we're going. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you guys and give you guys a little bit of some things I've learned along the way, and failures I've learned from, and successes I've lived in. And I'm excited to share that with you guys today.
So being one of the top people in the industry, I like the very, very top 1%, especially when it comes to sales and door-to-door sales and going into other avenues and going in being as a 1%er. What are some things you get me that other people could be able to do immediately to begin to manifest their ideas and goals from your mindset? And I definitely want to talk sales with you in a little bit, but like let's talk
Okay.
manifestation. So people, because people need direction, they need purpose, and then they're gonna need social dynamics to be able to help them manifest things and navigate the waters of life.
Yeah, that was like a few questions in one, but just to
Yes.
clear it up, basically, like what are some things, how can we manifest what we want? Like start from there and then kind of go into the 1%, or be the best in the industry we're currently in. Like how can my experience and what I've done so far help people that are listening right now? I think that um, there is a lot to say, but you are um, you are the sum total of the people and the environment you are around. So part of it is understanding the law of control. So Brian Tracy talks about this. You are in control to the degree in which you believe you are in control. So that also leans and offers another perspective, which is the law of cause and effect. So a lot of us live our lives bouncing around, reacting to everything that happens to our lives, never really feeling like we have a sense of control. And so, I mean, some of you guys listening right now are seeking some control of your life. So you're looking for advice and direction, and something to light that fire inside of you. And what happens is it's kind of just a mirage. We get told this lie that we have to be this, we have to do that, we must, or we should, or other voices that come into our mind are we can't be this, we're not enough, we can't ever do enough. Once we reach this this goal, we will be happy, right? So understanding that you guys have all the control that you want, as long as you realize that you do. And control has to do with really only 3 factors, which are your control of your fear, control of your anxiety, and control of your desires. So if you are, if you're spending time in those areas, really understanding how you work and how you've been wired from the past, you're going to be able to have a very good understanding of who you are and how you function and what has made you who you are. So this is really important. If you can understand who you are and how you operate, and then why you operate the way you do, you will now be able to define what you now, like, you'll be able to define the future way you operate. So imagine us as computers. We're all walking around with these old, out-of-date minds, and a lot of us don't pour into our computer. What happens, guys, if you have a computer and you don't use it or update the software, or the hardware is 10 years old? What happens to it? It goes bad.
It's out.
Right? You can't, it's done. And the rest of the world is upgrading, and you're sitting back with this old version of yourself. So, when you are spending time understanding why you are the way you are, and what's keeping you from where you want to go, you're basically looking at what's broken in your computer, and then you are now upgrading it by making different choices. So there's that. It's quite a big question to tackle, but that's
I think you did well.
I guess.
I think what I took away from it, and I see life a lot like that as well. It's, for example, you have to know yourself. You have to know what you want. You have to know yourself. You have to control your fear, your anxiety, and your desires. So controlling that, understanding yourself, you have to constantly upgrade your mindset so that you could be able to achieve what you want. Otherwise, you're going to outdate yourself in the process of that, because you got me, you're just going to break down somewhere along if you're not very clear on every single specific area and constantly updating your mind, yourself, as a computer, unlocking your potential to what could be constantly, like technology, how it's always advancing, the ourselves being a computer and the mind and all that. Correct me if any point, if there was anything that you'd like to like build on from that for yourself.
Like just to add on to that, like one of the most limiting beliefs, a lot of people that would be listening to this, whether they be 16 or they're young adults getting almost done with high school, looking towards college, or people that are in college or even outside of college. You could be an adult in your 30s, 40s, 50s right now listening to this. Every one of you has had the opportunity to upgrade, right? There has been a mentor in your life or somebody that has what you want, but in order to get it, they required money, or they required time, or some sort of sacrifice. And so if we're all these computers, right, and we're just looking to upgrade, money doesn't matter. Money is just the currency that we use to exchange for the upgrades. So you have to be willing to spend money and sacrifice things in order to upgrade the way you think, the way you operate as a fully functioning human being, So yeah.
What are your ideas on manifestation? Like your thoughts on it? Like on manifesting, you get me, maybe like your aura specifically, and like all that together, maybe like that segment. Because I think, for example, when we meet people, we could kind of feel like their energy sometimes. And some people will have energy where it's like, wow, like this energy is like, it's extremely pure, and like you can feel it, and it's like an instant connection, right?
Yeah.
And then other people, it's just like, well, I don't want to be around other people because it doesn't have that instant connection that happened, or that energy where it's just like, I like it. How would you describe like manifestation, like energy, and like auras, and like having big lofty dreams, like goals like that and such, like James Allen would say, right? Asking you the question, Mr. Castellanos.
Okay. That's a good author, by the way, James Allen. So I want to avoid being like Tim Allen, or some other big name that says something really, really awesome, but no one really understands it. So I like to keep things simple. I think when it comes to manifestation, it's just simple. We are a magnet. Doesn't have to do with religion at all, or what your beliefs are. You can believe in
I
God,
believe in Jesus
you can believe
Christ.
in Muhammad. Awesome. But anyone listening, you guys can believe in any religion you want. It doesn't affect universal laws, which exist no matter what religion exists, just so that's really clear. But everything is pushing and pulling away from each other. That's what electrons and that's what's happening in atoms. So if we are magnets walking around attracting and detracting unconsciously, and a lot of the attracting and detracting is something that we've programmed via the people we hang out with, the things that we watch on Instagram, social media, TV, radio, CDs, books, everything, including our friends. It also comes from our habits, right? The things that we do daily.
Right.
There's a saying, you're defined by the 3 most common things that you do, right? If you had to, look at your phone, go to the battery, look at where you spend most of your screen time, that'll tell you where most of your time is going, right? It's defining who you are. So anyways, if we're magnets and the things that we do and the people we hang out with define what we're attracting and detracting, manifestation is a choice. It's a choice made, and it is always happening whether you want to or not. So I'll give you guys an example. There was a story 3 years ago. I was in Detroit, Michigan with a team that I was training. We were out there for 4 months. We would sell, 6 days a week for 8 hours a day. It's pretty tough, especially being in Detroit, being a heavy crime area. And my girlfriend at the time, she got into an accident because she was reaching down and grabbing a piece of paper and rear-ended a brand new Lincoln, like MKZ, brand new car, like silver with the chrome wheels, like 40, 50 grand easily. And she's driving this beat up Xterra. So wrecks the car. We go and pick her up. We're making sure she's okay, of course. Like I was freaking out, making sure she was safe. And then, a day later, I asked her what happened. She goes, I don't know. I just, I looked away for a second and I ran into her. And I made the mistake of telling her, well, you attracted this into your life because
How did she react? Technically, we do attract things, consciously or not, for everything. I had this multimillionaire. He has an Inc. I think it's one of the Inc. 500 companies. His name's Vic. I'm always connecting with him, and I began to develop the relationship because I saw him talk. I talked to him afterwards, right? And I'm talking about this guy's got like all the cars, like Maseratis, like the Rolls Royces, the Ferraris, the Ferrari Testarossas, like the mansion, an Inc. 500 entrepreneur, one of the biggest companies in the entire world. He said what you said right now, exactly like it's like super true, like the way that you said it,
cool.
Mr. Castellanos.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully I'll be featured in a magazine for that quote at some day. So, but yeah, so she didn't react too well because anytime anyone gets told that it was their fault, everyone defends generally. They generally don't take it on. But as like the weeks progressed, she started to realize she really did cause the whole thing. She left in a hurry. She was overwhelmed. She was thinking about what she had to do later that night at 6 p.m. She wasn't present with where she was at. So because of that, there was chaos in her mind and confusion, and she attracted that. So apparently the lady in front of her was confused. She just bought this new car and was driving it to her son's house, and her son, I forgot the entire story, but I think she had been, or he had just moved into a new place. So she was finding it on her GPS. So both Ashlyn and this driver are confused. Does it make sense? So they attracted each other into that accident. So, it's not so far-fetched when you really think about this kind of thing, right? Like, if you're listening to this podcast right now, it's only because you've gone through a path where you have been attracted to receiving information that is going to shift your mind and get you to be more programmed and in control of your programming so that you can make better decisions. So it's not so far-fetched. It actually makes a lot of sense. So there's manifestation. We're a bunch of magnets pulling and pushing and while we're traveling through this universe.
With what you said earlier as well, how they intervene with each other.
Yeah. And so with energies, a good way to tell, this is a bit of a dodgy subject when people don't have a good foundation. So if you're listening and you've heard of the 4 personalities, which is the driver or the controller, the promoter, supporter, and then the analyst. So 2 of them are feelers, which is the promoter and the supporter. The driver and the analyst are thinkers. So energy is a feeling game, right? So there's some people that can feel energy very easily and can feel if somebody's energy connects with them or not.
What do you think? Do you think it's a gift, or do you think like you could develop that? Like, what are your thoughts on that specifically, James?
Yeah. Well, I think that we're all born with unique. We're all born unique. Our fingerprint literally is the definition of uniqueness. There's no other one like it. Even my twin doesn't have the same thumb as me. So,
that's very cool, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So it's definitely something that can be developed. See, what happens is the gift I'm referring to. So there's the thinkers and feelers, and we all technically can do both. But some of us are more personality, more easily able to do the one over the other. So myself and Noel, I believe you're a feeler too. We have the ability to walk into a room and feel the room. Right, yeah. So we're able to walk into a room and feel the room. And the ability that you want to actually be able to develop is not that ability because you already have it, right? It's the ability to distinguish who and or how you feel. So when you walk into a room and you start to feel something, you realize it's not yours, it's somebody else's. So then you don't have to take it on, and you're able to just honor that person or honor that room for what it really is, right? This room is in discord. They're kind of like all over the place, and you know you're calm because you just slept 8 hours, you worked out, or you went for a run, and you're calm, right? You read a book and you walked into this room and now everything's crazy. It's not because of you, it's because of them. So that's how you develop the feeling part for that and that energy side. Yep. And then the thinking,
like, yep. I agree.
Yeah,
it's good to honor people. I used to make that mistake, the way that you said, where it's like, for example, a lot of the time before in the past, I would go into like rooms or in social settings, and I'd have like this chaotic energy that somebody would have in their mind, where they're not comfortable with themselves, and you can feel all this like churning and like words, and like you can get next to them, and it's like, I used to be like, that is nuts. Like I got to get out of that environment, or like whatever it was, and I had to learn that myself, the way that you expressed it, because I had no idea. Like yourself, that's like, James, like this is one of the reasons we have you on. Like you're a genius, but like I never was able to actually understand that. I never read about it.
Too much.
It's true though, honestly, sincerely, authentically, and it's like, wow, you get me.
Well, thank you.
Genuinely, and it's my pleasure, honestly. Like, as I think highly of you, where it's like, so I mean, like, going into that, you get me. Honoring them, and specifically, I know I'm put you on because you had something else you wanted to say, but I'm like, did you lose your trail of thought by any chance, or no? You could have.
No, possibly. No, I've got it. I can hold on to it.
Okay, yeah. Awesome.
Oh, do you want me to continue? Yeah. So with the thinking, yeah, of course. So with thinking, it's really what it's about is thinkers, they're able to think rationally before they react emotionally. So there was a song as a kid that was sang to me and my friends and my family that I remember still to this day. And it goes, stop and think. It's a very important link to giving yourself some time before you make up your mind. Pretty cool, right? Now, it's not going to win like an Oscar, but it definitely has some truth. It definitely has some truth to it, right? So people that think are really good at taking a pause in life, in a room, in a situation, in questions, in business, and think of what, go down the logical path, right? And really think things through. And then they make a decision and the emotion comes afterwards, right? So it's just crazy, like, it's just different wiring. Yep. So it's different wiring. And then for people that are thinkers, to develop that, it's just being able to have some processes or just follow the system that you already go through. And if the system's not effectively getting you the answers you need, or you don't feel competent, you just need to upgrade your process or your processes, which is pretty easy. We've got Google and YouTube and Facebook, Instagram. We've got podcasts just like this, where when you listen in, you may listen, this podcast might end up being 45 minutes to an hour. But if you take one piece and you implement it into your life, it could be less than 5 seconds of something that I shared or Noel shared, and it shifts the rest of your life and the projection you're going into, or you're going. So yeah,
Seamlessly.
so that's the thinking and feeling.
How would you break down leadership? Because you've managed, you get me, who knows how many teams, and you've trained who knows how many people. Obviously, you know, but it's been a lot significantly, which is why I'm saying that. How would you break down like leadership? Like, how would you break down like your leadership style? Like, let's say somebody, you get me, is much younger than you, and you're one of their role models, and it's like, wow, this person really, you know, took time to ask you a question that he thought, you get me, that he wouldn't just ask anybody, you get me. So he's like, you know what, I have this person, you know, this person has stuff that I would model myself, right? And I would appreciate to model, because you get me, I wouldn't just ask anybody that question, because I wouldn't, which is the beauty of, you get me, being able to leave relationships, you get me, and stay in the relationships that you want to, despite, you get me, the value those relationships do have. So it's kind of like, what's some, like, how would you break down like your leadership style? You get me? So I could take something from it and like be able to model it and continue to build with you like over the years.
Yeah, that's a good question, Noel. So leadership for me is leadership is me leading myself first and then leading others. But most importantly, what I mean by that is I do as much or more than anything I ask of anyone that I work with. So I will never ask someone to do something that I have not done or can't already do. And the reason why is because, for obvious reasons, I'm never going to overextend myself or overextend the person I'm asking. Because a real leader is being able to take someone that's not blinded, but needs leading or is looking for leading, and help them see what the next step is. And that requires faith, that requires trust. So as a rule of thumb, I will never ask anyone to do more than anything. I will never ask anyone to do more than something I've never done myself or can't already do. So that's kind of like the overarching theme. I believe that really summarizes how I view leadership. There's a lot of facets that go into it, like there is self-awareness. So a lot of really good leaders are very aware of their character traits, their good and their bad. Like one question I was asked 4 years ago was, who's the worst leader you ever had? Right? And then what qualities made them bad? So you can write that down, and then rate yourself 1 to 5 in each of those areas you wrote down. And then how can you do better in those areas? So that's what's called self-reflection. It's like being able to see where you're at and where you can improve. See, what happens is if a leader feels like there's no room to improve and they're already where they need to be, well, they can't really lead anyone because they're perfect.
That's impossible though, because that's stagnant. That doesn't actually exist, because you're gonna change either way. Like the food we put in our body, like if it's healthy, our body's gonna, every 6 months it has regenerative cells. We're gonna constantly adapt. We're gonna change. So you're absolutely right. Like life itself it's constantly changing. So it's just the choice of, you get me, whether you're going to choose to control your fears, your anxieties, your desires, move towards that vision that you have in life, you get me, and grow into that, you get me. And that's going to require a new level of yourself. It's going to require a new level of thinking, new level of acting. And Albert Einstein would always say, you get me, the thoughts that we have, you get me, in at that second to create that problem, we're going to have to, at this moment, well, we're going to need new thinking. because that's when we're going to be able to, develop solutions and imagine the new solutions. You get me to those solutions of the problems that happen because of the past thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's always changing. And the self-reflecting, you get me, and then the bad traits and the good traits. And
yeah, I find that like I've made mistakes in leadership. So this is coming from a real genuine place. So my first year, I did really well, like Noel said. Like I was number one in a company of 7,000 new employees. I made six figures, more than six figures, in less than 5 months. And I did it with zero experience in sales. And what I did really well is I led myself. I was really good at being self-aware of my weaknesses and what did a good performance look like? What did good leadership look like? And that's what helped me develop the skills to really deliver in my job. But as it came to replicate, I wasn't able to look at my weaknesses with other people. So then I didn't learn from those mistakes like I did with sales. So I failed in that area and I wasn't able to train some people, and I lost a lot of people through the cracks just because of that, not being self-aware of it. And then being honest. People want to be led by someone that's just like them, but just a little bit better. Because if you're too perfect and too high up there, nobody really wants to be like you. Or some people are crazy enough to want to be like you, but then they soon realize they'll never be like you because you're unattainable. Does that make sense? So leadership, I think, it's not selling, it's serving.
The person has to develop their own style while striving for that high standard that they have of that person, because they just destroy limitations, and they're the ones that move the world, similar to yourself, if that's what you're meant.
Yeah,
because that's the way I identify with it.
Well, what I meant was like leadership is not selling people, that's management. Leadership is serving. How can I help you? How can we get you to where you need to get your goals? Because people are so smart. People are so smart. I mean, people are able to get what they want if they just had someone rooting in their corner and watching their back. That's it. People can get where they want to go. They're just a few decisions away from making it happen. That's it. So if you're listening right now, just know you're only a few decisions away from where you want to be. And so for leadership, the second part is self-reflection. So if you're running right now, if you guys are in business or in sales or anything in business, right? Any age range, you're thinking about what college you're going to go to, right? Ask yourself, what version of me that's a leader in the future, how would they face the challenge that I'm dealing with today? And what will happen is your compassion level will raise, because you will soon realize that you're being really hard on yourself and that you need to give yourself some room to really evaluate what you're doing and be okay with making mistakes. And then the last one is self-regulation. So for leadership, right, that's what our topic is. This is a tool. It's a very valuable tool called reframing. And this will stop what you're feeling. So sometimes in a position where we want to, how do I say this? React to people that are being very aggressive in sales, like door to door, like you have someone that's angry at you or they've had a terrible day. Most of us just want to go, screw you, like, the hell are you doing? This isn't right.
Not James though, he'll flip it.
Yeah.
And then they buy. And they'll bring neighbors to buy. And the dogs are all friendly, even if you're attacked by like 8-10 dogs. And then he'll lead them.
Yeah. But realize, like, a lot of times what you're feeling is, so everything you're feeling is temporary. It eventually subsides. Like there's a saying, pain is temporary. It may be here today, tomorrow, next week, but eventually it will subside. That's a real thing. So realize what you're feeling isn't permanent. So reframing just goes, hey, stop. What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling angry right now? Well, before I talked to this person, I wasn't angry. So that means that this person's bringing on anger. So then I asked myself, how important is it that I feel angry right now? on a scale from 1 to 10. Well, it's a really low number. So I'm not going to blow up, right? I'm not going to get super angry. And do I need to engage in this? No, right? But sometimes in business and leadership, there are times where you need to engage in certain emotions that are coming from maybe someone you're leading. So that's where you will, you may have you have to engage with it, and that's where you use techniques like just being patient, repeating what they're saying, making sure they feel heard and they feel respected and loved, and serving them by giving them that space, and then asking them, hey, do you want a solution? And then helping them through that solution. So there's a time and place for that, but those are the 3 parts of leadership that really helped me throughout the past few years. So it's self-awareness, it is self-reflection, and self-regulation.
And what about for if you go into, like, for example, because the podcast is going to be winning success in social dynamics, because a huge part of success, right, in all areas of life specifically, where it's like, let's say that you get me, you're a 6-figure producer, 7-figure producer, or anything you get me in between that, whether it's a singer, an actor, whatever it is. How would you break down like the success of like a top 1%er, like the psychology, like the mindset, right? And then a couple of like strategies that go hand in hand. You get me, maybe with like the outer game portion of it, where it's like, um, but first, like the 1%, like mindset, like the psychology of that, like, if you please.
Yeah, I actually have a specific notes section that maybe I can send this over to you, Noel, but it's like over 30 different quotes, and they're really good. And basically,
That'd be awesome,
it's
by the
little
way.
things that remind me, but it says 99% of people do this, 1% do this. So an example would be 99% of people focus on saving, where the other 1%, top 1%, focus on earning because they don't plan on stop earning. Does that make sense? 99% think of money on a linear term, 1% think of money on a non-linear term. What's another good one? I actually have a whole list here. 99%, money is the root of all evil. 1%, money is, where is that? Poverty is the root of all evil. See, there's quite a few on here. So rich people are crooks. 99% of people think this, or the 99%. 1% rich people are ambitious, right? 90% of people think building wealth is a solitary effort. 1% rich people building wealth they understand it's a team effort. So it's just a shift, right? I'll send that to you, and maybe Noel
I
can link it
identify
down.
with that, by the way, because a lot of people on the outside would see it like the 99%, I think. People that aren't like obsessively moving towards like their vision while thinking of others. And specifically, you get me, being humble enough to learn from the people that could genuinely, if they take the time to show humility at any point in life, would drastically improve not just their finances, but their peace, because they will go hand in hand. And that's very rewarding. Because, well, now you're happy as shit, you're not worrying about anything, you're in ecstasy 24/7. And it's like, whoa, at the same time, you're making 6-7 figures. So
Yeah. I think, again, it's that sense of, it all comes back down to the root of how much you feel in control of your experience that we call life. And if you shift that belief, you shift how you view control, you'll realize that you've been playing a small game, and that's the 1% are having the most fun. They're having the most fun. They're enjoying every ounce of what life has to give, and they're ambitious, and they're not holding back, and they're not letting everyone else tell them how to do something. 1% of people are ambitious because they're willing to go against the grain, right? Go against the beaten path, or the non-beaten path, right? They carve their own. They don't care because they go by their passion and their desire and their dreams. and their why is so great, and it's so much easier for that type of person to be successful because they've already decided they were going to be successful. And because they decided, nothing else anyone says is going to change that because it was a decision made. And so a lot of us, I think people that aren't in the 1% have not actually decided to be successful, to be in the 1%, to actually pursue what it is that we want and then do something about it, right? A lot of us, what do they call them? Empty promises, right? We say we're going to do something, then we never follow through, right? And it's okay. If you're listening right now and you've made a promise and you haven't followed through before, that's normal, right? 99% of people do that. But I'm offering you guys an opportunity right now to put a break on it and shift that perspective. Just make a decision, and that goal that you have written in your journal, or the promise you made to the girl you're dating, right? Or something that you've done, that you've made a covenant. All you need is to decide, this is who I'm going to be, and then move forward. So I think we overcomplicate it often, but it's just simple as the 1% think differently than the 99%. And because they think differently, they make better decisions. And because they make better decisions,
stop before they think.
Yeah, they probably sing that song all the time.
Who knows? Maybe you will win an Oscar. What do you think? Possibly, right?
Dude, I'd be down for an Oscar on that song. We
What do
need
you
like
think?
a sick remix on it.
You think so? I mean, you could probably set it up, right? Genuinely, because I think all master salespeople, it's like they could be in a movie, and the movie would probably be better than some of the actors that are out there. Those are just. What do you think, James? Like, authentically.
Oh, about salespeople being in movies? Yeah, I mean, I think everyone. Again, sales is happening.
Like, if they're good, like.
Well, they are. So the actor, I have two friends, more than a few friends that are actors, but two friends I'm actually close to. One out here in Sarasota that does day trading now, and he does a couple films in Africa 2 or 3 times a year. And then I have another friend that lives in California, tall, lanky, 6'3", like always wool sweaters, like funny as heck, very spiritual. But these guys, I asked them, so how do you get trained to be an actor? Because people can be naturals, but how do you like sharpen your skills if you're a natural, and how do you become good? And he goes, well, you kind of have to sell yourself on that you're just going to be a different person, right? And then once you've accepted that, you then do how you feel that person would be, and you act that way, and that is acting. As simple as that, right? I think the movie industry has mystified what acting is, right? We've seen movies where it talks about actors becoming, it's funny, people that are acting in the movie are playing a role as an actor trying to become a movie star. It's kind of funny. But we've kind of mystified really the whole thing. And it's just these people have decided, right? They've decided that I am an A-list actor. I'm somebody that people, when they watch me, I change the way they feel and think, and I put them in a certain place. And so it's just a decision, right? And so all of us have the ability to do whatever we want, right? It's just a decision. In the US, man. Yeah, what a great opportunity being out here in the States. But it's just a decision to really be that person. So anyways, to kind of bring it back, I think that salespeople could be great actors, yeah, because they're good at like, they're probably, I mean, I don't know, it depends on what you mean by that, right? Like, do you mean like they can fake a role?
They could win like an Oscar.
Probably. Well, I don't know the definitions of somebody getting an Oscar.
I don't know, but like hypothetically.
How do they win those things?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know either specific. I don't know the specifics. The technical knowledge.
Best celebrity salesperson. Come up,
James. You'd be good, James, because like you have a way with words. You're charming. You have charisma. You're a good-looking guy. You get me? Don't got any ideas? I know you won't. Just playing. Haha. but but it's like you have these things and you can present yourself. Like if somebody will give you, for example, I want you to be, you get me, I don't know, like a role that you could imagine yourself being in, that you would really, really like enjoy for yourself. If you would share that role, or if you have it coming to mind now, what would that role be? And you think you'd be really, really, you'd excel at it, like on the big screen,
You mean if I
and it
was an
goes
actor?
national. Yeah.
Hmm, that's a good question. I've thought of this. Mini moons.
Aha.
Mini moons. I've thought of this now. Um, hmm. I'm really into action, so I've done 12, just about 12 years of Taekwondo. I did track, pole vaulting, hurdles. So I've always been very active, swimming, biking, running, triathlons. Um, so I've always been interested in like the martial arts part of the movies and action movies. Um, so maybe something with like a stunt double, like either a James Bond, Vin Diesel, some futuristic kind of feel to it, something like
I
that.
see you as a
I'd
James
be
Bond.
interested in that. I could see that.
I,
Yeah, take like a
you're just very
martini with
kind,
a
I
lemon
think,
twist.
sometimes. But I could see you as a James Bond because I like. What do you think about this thought where it's like some people, for example, and I know you're short on time, but if you have a couple of minutes, I'd love to have you on for like a little bit more. Um,
Oh yeah, I'm good.
you're awesome, really. All right. So
Yeah,
for
hold on.
example, let's.
You're gonna edit this video, right?
No, dude, this is as real as it gets, man.
Oh, you should
Fucking
probably
A.
like
So
cut
it's
out
like, oh
some.
shit, the whole thing was real. It's like it
Oh,
was.
okay. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, this is not edited, guys. It's raw. Hold on.
That's cool.
Yeah, what were you asking? I'm listening.
For like, for example, let's say that I don't know, like I could just kind of see you, for example, in a role like that. And when a person, some people say that humility is awesome, and then on in the Bible, it's like arrogance is right before the fall. I totally agree with that, by the way. But it's like, what do you think about like there's like a fine line where it's like you do have the skills, you do have the talents, and then you get me not having like that traditionally like program norm that a lot of the time you get me we have to disassociate for however you want to like run with it spiel. I think sometimes people because of that could hit like an internal barrier inside, and it's like okay, whoa, um, I could have possibly express myself more with those ideas that were mine, and it's like you get me, and I had you get me everything to follow it before that. Sometimes it could be other people on the outside having poor communication skills. Sometimes you have a tremendous, I mean, but for example, it's like how would you describe that, like humility and being able to like I guess share your knowledge that's authentic when it's already there, and like you are that person, like you are like the real deal. It's like how would you like describe that like for other people?
Um, hmm, making sure I get this right. I mean, I don't know how to really answer that question. I just know that like, um, don't don't be fake, don't be stupid, like, or don't be fake. Sorry, um, don't be fake. Just be authentic to who you are. I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, everyone's trying to fake it, but if you don't realize that statement, everybody is trying to fake it. So you're basically trying to be like everyone. So stop faking it, just be yourself. And
And you're one of a
we
kind,
it's not that, yeah, I
like a
look,
snowflake.
I'm I'm 29, yeah, so I'm 29. Some of you guys on here might be younger than me, some of you guys might be older than me. It does not matter, right? I've learned lessons from my 8-year-old nephew. I've learned lessons from an 80-year-old guy, right? So it doesn't matter the age. The I think the main thing we get caught up in is I am great or this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's not about that. Like, none of this experience
While
we have
still
on
having
this.
your humility, right? Because like I did want to put the humility part because I do think arrogance does follow like a fault. I don't know, like for example, like I think Grant Cardone, for example, like I love his content. Like Cardone University, you get me. It's tremendous. Anybody that hasn't like gone through it, I mean, like have to go through it. But it's like for example, now in real estate, when I have guys and I'll train them, It's like I can systemize what they could do and say. I'll take myself out of the equation entirely. I'll systemize what they can do and say. We'll work on their strengths, we'll work on their weaknesses, we'll work on their inner game, right? We'll begin to develop these habits. They have to have desire. If they don't have desire, it's not going to work, right? It's like you could take the horse to water, but that horse has to have the willingness to drink. But let's say that person, you get me, has all these things in line. We have all these systems in place. You get me. You can clearly tell this guy's an expert just by the way he shows up and the way he, presents himself and the way he communicates and everything. And we have that person. You get me, hypothetically, and this being a real case scenario. Now, with that, you can explode their sales. You can make them into a 6, 7 figure producer. You have this very special niche in the marketplace where you're recreating things from a model that you might have learned in a book, whatever it was. And it's like specifically, this person can excel now and they can become, you get me, this wild, wild thing that exceeded their own expectations of what was possible. No college, no nothing. And they're making like hand over fist, you got me, 6 figures on the spot per deal. And they're just exploding with confidence, you get me, with wealth, with power. And at the same time, you get me still being able to keep their humility. Because I think Grant Cardone sometimes, you get me, and I'll trade this to myself because I could do that with people. But let's say like Grant Cardone, like I think sometimes I don't know about you, but like I like him a lot. I have other friends that are trying to hook up with him now, and I go with Brad Lee. So every single Tuesday, you get me, I have master salesman Brad Lee. He'll teach me stuff. I get to pick his brain. You get me. Grant's one of his clients, right? And he'll tell us all kinds of tremendous things where it's invaluable information about how great he is. You get me. I know I worked for Grant Cardone when I was younger at Aventura. I rejected like 9, 10 times. I shook his hand and he gave me some attention, and it was a really, really cool experience because I got to show up there a lot. How would you think, you get me, like we could use any other person in the world, you get me, that it could be any person specifically, where it's like maybe somebody that we've come into contact with, it could be a gal, it could be a guy, just in general, where it's like that person could be more successful if they were just a little bit kinder to themselves and to other people, right?
Okay,
And
so I see what you're saying. Yeah. So like, okay, yeah. Ego is not your amigo, right? Um, I mean, again, selling is for you, serving is for others. So if you realize that you cannot get to really say if you're making great money, right? Well, there's something called the 4 pillars of wealth. Okay. You can have riches, but you can be empty in these 4. Okay. So an example would be people that work for money. They trade their time for money. Okay. That is a basically called the rat race, and you will never get out of it. Okay. So say you have millions of dollars. So I'll give you an example. That's people working a regular wage job. Then you've got people that win the $1 million whatever. They're in the right place at the right time. They're with the right real estate company. There's an abundance of deals. You get so lucky with no experience. You sell 6 figures worth of homes in 4 months, right? Well, what happens is the same complex you see with people that win the lottery, or they're football players, right? Or basketball players. You've heard of them, right? They get paid these millions of dollars, and a year later they're broke. Like, how do you spend that much money? And it's because they were wage mentality people that earned riches. Follow me?
I do.
Okay, that's egocentric people. Ego is somebody self-serving, and they're only looking at the money as a self-serving tool. Does that make sense? So they're the
Perfect.
only one winning. On this side, you've got what's called the 4 pillars of wealth. So riches versus wealth. Okay. Robert Kiyosaki is very good at explaining this part. If you guys have time, look up his book called Cash Flow Quadrant or Rich Dad Poor Dad. Both are very, very good and really dive deep into this. But the 4 pillars are personal, financial, mental, and family. Okay. We've all heard of people that have money but are super depressed. They're the most alone, depressed people on the planet, right? And they're usually the ones that are most self-centered. You can't be alone if you're thinking of everyone else. It doesn't make sense, right? So that's why they're alone. They're thinking of only themselves. Okay. So these 4
Had a quote
pillars,
like
if
that.
you
Go on, please.
Yeah. So if you focus on these 4 pillars, your personal health, what makes you happy? Like what gets you excited? What makes you excited and feel emotions, right? Like, is it longboarding? Is it skateboarding? Is it helping people get a product and change their life? Is it serving people with a service, right? Is it um, uh, cleaning? I don't know, basket weaving. Like, what is it that just makes you light up? That's your personal basket, right? Your financial is just making sure that you are making more money or more money than where you are than what you need, right? So if you have all your needs met financially, that financial pillar is met. Okay. And then the other pillar is the mental. So are you reading? Are you listening to these podcasts? Are you implementing it, right? What are you doing to upgrade your hardware, your brain, right? And then the last one is your family. Who are you spending the most time with, and are they the people that love you the most, right? So there's a saying: there's people you go with, and there's people you be with. So the people you go with are the people that you are going to grow and become upgraded with, and there's people that you be with. These people, you don't try to change who they are, and they're not trying to change. They may be trying to change who you are, but you don't do anything for that relationship. It's like some of us on here might have family members where we don't really associate with, or we don't think the same way. They might be in the wage mentality mindset, and I'm over here in the wealth mentality. So they're not going to go with me, right? So I'm not going to go there with them. Okay. So focus on who you're going to be with and who you're going to go with. And then make sure you're filling up that tank, right? If you're close to your mom, take her out to lunch. If you're close to your dad, go play golf. If you're close to your brother, go do something with your family and fill these tanks up, because you could have all the riches with all the ego, or you could have wealth and feel fulfilled. And that is going to create a great foundation for you to obtain long lasting wealth. That's the trick, right? This is a quick roller coaster up and a quick one down. This one is a staircase, and each step you take, it becomes higher and higher, and it becomes your new floor. It's more permanent. So that's how, that is how you can gain success and avoid the falling of having an ego.
Genius. I think a lot of the time people will, for example, strive for like all these like nice fancy things that I think they're fine. I think everybody should like have like super nice like fancy things. And it's like a lot of the time they'll be empty and maybe like one of the other like quadrants like altogether. And for example, they'll just kind of collapse because of that. Because it's like maybe they had it or they obtained it for a brief second because somehow they were able to obtain it, maybe through sheer willpower or some other driving motivated factors. They weren't able to sustain it though because internally they weren't able to build that staircase for themselves. And it was kind of like, whoa, because they collapsed from the inside out. Kind of like a building with like a really bad foundation. It's beautiful, it's massive, but it's gonna collapse because this foundation wasn't sturdy. It wasn't a foundation that could withstand maybe hundreds like of years, right? Or like an old tree that's like hundreds and hundreds of years. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
just sharing back and forth with like some of your ideas, some of mine, and a lot of these being yours. You got me one of our guests, kind of stringing on, some of the questions. So how would you, for example, like there's a bunch of questions that I want to ask you, James. How much time do we have with you? Because I think we
I
might
have, yeah,
altogether.
we're over 10 minutes. I have like 2 to 3 more minutes, so we can do a part 2 if you'd like.
Part two. Do you want to do that? You want to do that?
Sure,
Want to do
we
a
can do
part
it.
two?
It's fine.
This
If
one,
that's, yeah, I'm down. I'm having
because
fun. I'm enjoying myself.
there's probably like a bunch of more questions that I want to ask you because like we've covered a lot, but I mean this is like there's like so much more that like it's just like I hope like they're bad, they're horrible questions, right? They're like these are like the worst questions in the world. It's like I know they're amazing questions. But, all right. Do you want to like say anything to like kind of like sign off, and we'll keep them pending for a part 2. Whenever you're available, if you're open for that, I'll definitely be open to like scheduling with that. Maybe you could text me some of those quotes as well.
Yeah, I'll do that right now, actually.
Whenever
I'll
you
do it
have
when
a
I get off.
second.
Yeah, but yeah, guys. So I really hope this helped today. If you guys really have found some value in what I've been sharing, check out my Instagram, check out my Facebook page. The handles are included behind Noel and probably at the
I'll
bottom of
post them below
the
the
link.
video. Maybe a little bit about
Perfect.
your business, because people know that they can trust you and do business with you as well. Because people want
Yeah,
good
perfect.
people to do business with. You don't find that everywhere. It's a rarity. It's in scarcity.
Perfect. Thanks, man. I also do coaching as well, guys. I take businesses or individuals and help them get from where they want to go to where they are at to where they want to go. I've helped just about 10 clients in the past month and a half. Almost all of them have doubled their following on social media and have increased their sales. And again, it's not from anything complicated, no secrets that I know that no one else knows. It's just keeping it stupid simple. And there's a saying, it's called K.I.S.S, keep it simple, stupid. So that is, yep, so that's available if you guys are interested. But yeah, stay tuned for part 2. At some point, maybe this upcoming week, we'll have it posted. And I'd love to answer any questions you guys might have. So if there's a comment section below, definitely ask any of the questions and we'll get to them. I appreciate you letting me come on, Noel.
James, it was a treat and a delight having you pass by.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you're a warm person to be with, man, and you have a good
Just
heart.
myself, man.
So. Yeah.